O tira, e wahi tōtahi māku. Tūtautu whanau I ngā mihi ki a koutou, e Ngati Manawa, a Ngati Whare. Koutou rā, I takehia mai te hurai. Mai rā te tīmatanga mai, o tēnei mahi a koutou, a taino mai ki tēnei wā. E pēnei rā te kōrero. Ka nui te arawa, ka nui te mi, ki a rātou ka rea tai a tinana mai. Rātou ka whetu rangi hia, rātou rāua, koutou I arahi mai, ke tutuki pai ai, ngā momoia, ngā obata, whoroma, whima, rei mihake e rā ki a Bill, ki a Denise, ki ai te hara mai tēnei wā I roto te tinana o tira, kei roto I te wairua a taima. Nā rungi tēnā mihi kau ana ki a koutou, e kore tae tēnei ki te mihi ki tēnā a koutou, ke mahu ake o etahi ki waho. Nō reira, kia ora rā koutou, mo te kaha te koutou mahi I tēnei wā a ka nui rā te mihi. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to first join with my colleagues, the Honourable Parikura Horomia, the Minister of Treaty Negotiations, the Honourable Chris Finlayson, the Honourable Taria Naturi, the previous speakers who paid special tribute to a very, very fine individual, a fine New Zealander, and he being the lead negotiator for the Ngati Manawa claim, he being Bill Bird, a person well known throughout the claims community, certainly in the central North Island where he played a big part, not only in leading the Ngati Manawa people to this point, but also for his contributions to the settlement of Ngati Manawa interests in the CNI settlement. So with those thoughts in mind, I want to pay special tribute to him, and same with Denise Houghton. Very difficult undertaking they were involved in. I first encountered their negotiation skills sometime in 2005, I believe it was, and I was really impressed at the way they handled themselves. Absolute dignity. As the Honourable Doug Graham would say, you get some lessons in dignified behaviour from these particular type of people that you meet in the negotiations process. And it's an unforgettable experience in the way that they conduct themselves, in the way that they treat other people, including, in particular, ministers of the Crown. These people have had to endure quite some challenging times, very challenging times, particularly in that they represent not the easiest iwi to get along with, and that being Ngati Manawa, for instance. And I've got to, at this point in time, Mr. Speaker, declare a conflict of interest, because I too am Ngati Manawa. And I'm expecting my cousin Paul Quinn to make the same declaration here in this House. But having said that, I have, in making that declaration and having made the statement, I really have no difficulty in representing the best interests of Ngati Manawa, because the people who make up Ngati Manawa, the iwi of Ngati Manawa in Murupara and areas throughout the central North Island, are people wanting to move on. They are people wanting to put the grievances of the past, the sadness of the past, the hurt of the past behind them, create a benchmark or a platform for the development of their people, and their legacy to future generations is in the fact that they made the big decisions. They did the hard yards, they made the hard decisions, and they made life easier for future generations of Ngati Manawa. As with Ngati Whare of the same area, in particular Minginui, Te Whaichi, and sitting here beside my colleague, the Honourable Parikura Horomia, the previous Minister of Māori Affairs, and somebody who played a big part in these negotiations, he reminded me that I should make special mention of his whanaunga, James Carson, in the gallery, and that James Carson is also a Horomia. And I have never heard this translation before, Mr. Speaker, and I'll be quite honest with you. Horomia in English means pig-headed. I said, well, I don't think that's true. He said, well, in our family it does. So, but when I thought back and having thought about how difficult James Carson was to deal with, yeah, I think he's pretty close to in terms of the translation. But he's here today, and that takes quite a bit of grit, quite a bit of substance, and quite a bit of what my friend Parikura Horomia referred to. We'll leave that subject there. Mr. Speaker, other people who need some acknowledgement in the first reading of the Ngati Manawa, Ngati Whare Claim Settlement Bill, of course, would be the Honourable Margaret Wilson, who initiated discussions on behalf of the previous Labour government. The mantle was then transferred to the Honourable Mark Burton for a short time, and then to the Honourable Michael Cullen, who basically put the vehicle in top speed and gave instructions that this deal must get done. And whilst I congratulate the Minister of Treaty Negotiations this evening, and particularly into the acknowledgements in his own speech, I've got to say that by the time he took responsibility for the portfolio, the hard yards have been done. So the hard yards have been done. So life from here on is easy, as far as he's concerned. But having said that, I admire his tenacity because, Mr. Speaker, as I read through the bill, and the previous speakers have done a lot of that, gone through the particular components of the bill. As I say, there are aspects of the bill in terms of cultural redress that are quite rightly included in the bill because they are areas of specific cultural and historical importance to the people of Ngati Manawa and the people of Ngati Whare. And as with the commercial redress, as my colleague Parikura Horomia has said, it's never going to be enough. The people of Ngati Manawa and Ngati Whare acknowledge that this is the best they're going to do for now, and the test will be, for them will be on how well they can grow the settlement. But a particular part of the settlement package that I'm interested in are the relationships with other Crown agencies. Because, and I say this while the Minister's in the House, there are some concerns within the claimant community that this government is no longer committed to developing, securing relationships between iwi and other Crown agencies as part of a treaty settlement. Now, I hope I'm wrong that, and what I've heard is just a rumour, but I know a few iwi around the country who are very concerned about that. And rumours being rumours, I would rather not take too much notice of them until I hear the substance, and that can only come from the government. But having said that, Mr. Speaker, protocols in terms of Ngati Manawa's interests in fisheries are really important. There's a special mention of their interests in the native eel industry, and I had a privilege, I would say, of actually going walkabout with Minganui and getting an understanding of how vast and how commercially viable this particular industry is. And I'm not suggesting that Ngati Manawa or Ngati Whare are going to go off and start and get into the commercial eeling industry, but what I'm saying is that they can make a pretty good contribution to it, given the geographic nature of the area where they come from and the vast amounts of wetlands in that particular area. There are also relationships or protocols with the Minister of Conservation, which is also important. The Minister made reference to, I think it was the Minister made reference to the importance of the Whirinaki forest, and having been there myself and having seen Jurassic Park, the movie, you can understand how brilliant this particular area is. Happened to be wandering around there one day when they were actually filming, and incredible scenery, incredible environment, incredibly Hollywood as well, but never mind, this was Minganui, this was the area where many of my tūpuna lived, and to see them on the screen was actually quite moving. Never know, my friend Parikura Horomia might make the movies one day. Minister of Energy and Resource, very important as well, in terms of energy and alternative energy sources in the future. That, like many other in Central North Island iwi, will be very important in terms of alternative energy sources. We've seen the same with Ngati Tūwhare Toki Kawerau, with geothermal, as with Tūwhare Toa as well, and we'll soon see much more of that with Te Arawa, particularly Ngati Whakaue. And so, Mr. Speaker, the point I'm trying to make here this evening, I think I've made it pretty clear what my point is that Ngati Manawa went on a very, very long journey to get to this point, as did Ngati Whare go on a very long journey to get to this point. The reason why the journey took so long is because there are some points about their legislation or the settlement legislation that need to be understood and need to be covered thoroughly. And whilst cultural redress has a very broad meaning, when you get down to the syntax or the detail of what cultural redress means, in particular for Ngati Manawa and Ngati Whare, you realise that there are some areas of land that cannot be forgotten about, that cannot be left out of discussion, cannot be taken off the table in terms of a settlement, and have to be acknowledged. Their interests in these areas have to be acknowledged in the settlement legislation. As with the commercial redress, the challenges are there for them. The protocols with Crown agents are equally as important. As we see what happened to Tūhoi recently, I understand that those discussions have reopened. It'll be interesting to see what will come of that. Well, Tūhoi say something else. I'm glad to hear the minister say they never stop, but Tūhoi have a different opinion. But I'm sure that we'll see a lot of that come to fruition. We may not as well. in the days to come. So in my closing comments and statements, Mr. Speaker, I played